Okay, the portion on the agenda about the conversation concerning the water contract is when we forwarded the contract to the solicitor, and when they were reading through it, they thought there were some issues with it. And they called me back and said that they needed to do some research on it. They felt there was something wrong with the way it was written. We don't need to vote or anything on it. It was just a conversation to have in public that they're looking into the contract, and they wanted Pennsylvania American Water to just cease on what they were doing until they had an answer. So that was all that was up with that. Anybody have any comments on that? Okay.
So are they ceasing without a motion?
But no, they're just not they're just looking into it. When I had Mike forward them all the contracts and everything we had going on, and when they read through it, they saw some kind of a red flag.
Okay, do we need to authorize them for how much time they can invest to look at it, or?
They said no. They said you don't have to make a motion on everything. Okay. So, but it was just we want to keep everything on the table. So, any public comments on any items?
Yeah. What does that mean that you just said? Would it be for the next year, 2 months, that they would cease operations?
Well, they'll probably have an answer next meeting.
But since it's a public meeting, I think if you're discussing that it's going to be delayed, that would have to be made public, what those items are.
Well,
what the red flag was.
Well, they will when they just asked for permission to do a little bit more research.
Who's going to follow them to make sure that they're going to get back on schedule?
Our solicitor.
I think this gentleman's asking because, like they said, to cease until.
Yeah.
Well, they just. Well, here's the thing: if they find a contract to be voidable or wrong or anything of that nature, any expenses that PA American Water would have incurred up to this point, we still owe, no matter what. So if they haven't bought any pipe or they haven't spent, $30,000 or $40,000 in engineering fees, they just asked them to just hold off until they get an answer for them.
Who's doing this? Who is it who's investigating?
The township solicitor, Alan Shuckrow.
Okay, he's investigating. He saw something in the contract?
He called me, what is today, Monday, would have been Friday, and said he saw something that didn't look right. So,
what does that mean, though? I think the public has a right to know what doesn't look right.
Well, they will know when I know. I'm just saying what he had forwarded.
And you said that money that's so far invested would not be refundable. So you're saying that if there's some problem and there's fact-finding, then you drop the contract and drop the whole project?
We have to wait and see until...
No, you have to answer that. What does that mean? Because there could foreseeably or predictably be a class action suit. They have already done the surveying. There's an implied contract there with me when they survey my land. It's the same as a contract, if you don't know what that means. So there's already a separate contract. You can't negate a whole project without informing the public that will be affected. You need to tell us. You need to tell us what that is.
No one has stopped anything at this point.
Well, but there's an inherent threat there. So we need to know what we need to do to follow it. It sounds too muddled. It sounds too covert. It sounds as though you're bypassing a lot of personal rights and legal responsibilities.
Well, they didn't give me any details on the issues that they had found.
Well, then how can you stop work on something that may turn out with investigation to not be a problem? How can you stop work?
Our solicitor asked for permission to do it. We take the advice of our solicitor.
Isn't it interesting that he's not here tonight to answer any of the questions that we, the public, have? Seems to me that it's a public matter.
That's why I was asking.
Even discussing it without any intended result is almost a Sunshine Act
I was asking
violation.
if a motion was required to to stop if they thought there was an issue, because I certainly would, until I was given a legal issue that said there's a legal problem where this contract.
Why did it
is voided,
suddenly-
I would not be in.
Well, why didn't the solicitor say something about it whenever the other board of directors was in power?
Because we have a new solicitor, and our last solicitor let a lot of things go that shouldn't have.
Well, that sounds like it's illegal. Why wasn't he punished then?
He may be. I can't answer that.
Let a lot of things go has all kinds of legal ramifications. Maybe deeper than whether the water company is going to be halted in its... You can't give me any indication what that red flag was.
I'm only forwarding what they had said to me. So,
Who said?
Alan Shupra, it's the second time I've answered that.
Okay, that's fine.
So, anybody else have anything?
Hi.
Yes.
Is there a cost for him to look into this issue, in addition to whatever we're paying the solicitor?
Of course there's a cost. Small amount. They're looking over all the contracts that we have.
And if they find nothing, we still pay him for it?
Well, apparently they found something, or they wouldn't have mentioned it, so.
And he didn't tell you what it was that he found?
I didn't understand what it was that he had said they found. It was in legal. So he just asked that we give him permission to do a little bit more research. So
Was it the solicitor's recommendation then that the project be stopped and that this public hearing be held to announce to the public the intentions?
This public hearing has nothing to do with the water line. We were having this meeting because we needed to appoint a check signer.
Okay, but then whose idea was it to stop? I mean, I understand what you're saying, because if there's an issue, yeah, you don't want to move forward, but was it the solicitor's recommendation to stop the water project until he has further answers for the board?
It's not completely stopped. I mean, apparently I'm not wording it correctly.
Well, you had said ceased, so that infers that you stopped the project.
He merely was asking permission to ask them to not invest any more engineering money.
Right.
At this point, they've really not done very little. They haven't purchased, 8,000 feet of pipe.
But you don't want them to move until they've...
Well, we just want to make sure the contract's valid, is all.
But I think you have to have a vote on that. I don't think you can just talk about it and make it happen. You can't stop a project that already was agreed upon and we're part of now because they actually were on our property. You can't just let that be. You would have to propose some kind of action to stop a project that's ongoing. You can't just do that with public money.
Well,
you can't.
According to our solicitor, we didn't have to vote on it, but if you want us to vote on it, then we will. I make a motion that we have the solicitor cease the water line contract until he finds it valid. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call vote. Mr. Duran?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Mr. Brozitz?
No.
That's ridiculous.
Motion carries. Any other public comments? Yes, ma'am.
Well, you can see our concern. I talked directly to the water company over a month ago. We're trying to build in that area, and we were going to put a well in, and heard the rumor that the water was going through. So I talked to the water company directly, and they said yes, it was going through. Not long after that, I got a call from the water company that said they just wanted to give me a heads up because they had heard back then from a new supervisor coming in that they were going to do everything they could to stop that project. Now this was directly from the water company. So now that this comes out, you can see where it just looks a little, I don't want to put a well in only to find out 4 months later I got to hook up to the water line. You know what I mean? Then I lose, and...
Well, it's even worse than that. I'm a legitimate news person. I post currently to CNN and to YouTube.
Mr. Schenkel, if you are addressing during a meeting, you have to address the board.
Okay, I'll address the board then. The Beverly Schwab verbally attacked me when I was trying to interview people at the last township meeting that the former board had. And she said, and you can see it on YouTube, by the way, by typing in on YouTube, Township Supervisors approve new zoning ordinances. And you can see that she comes right up into the camera and says horrible things about me and the water project.
I saw it.
You saw it? And I'm trying to get CNN to take that, but so far they think it's just a local issue, but it's much more than that. It's a constitutional issue. So I would recommend that you, with haste, investigate the situation, find out what it is, and act to continue the project.
That's all we were trying to do.
Okay.
So,
Thank
you.
I'd like to make one comment.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yes, sir.
The only thing I'd like to go on the record as saying is this was a signed contract that's been executed. Previous legal counsel found it valid. I don't think it's wise to vote to say stop the process until we consult our new legal counsel when it's a contract that's been signed by the township and is in progress.
Well, I think it's probably even illegal for what the board just did.
I just want to go on record. I don't think that's a good idea.
Roger, we're paying the solicitor above his rate to investigate this project, correct? So is the supervisors going to give him an amount of time so that we don't waste money on this, or to paying the solicitor to investigate? Since obviously he can't tell us what the problem is, I have a big question mark there myself. I mean, you don't go to somebody and say, no, it's not. So we see a red flag. There's got to be more. There's got to be more to it. We're only scratching the surface here. So we're not getting to the heart of anything. If we don't have money in the township, if that seems to be an issue, then we need to cap the amount of time that he looks into this.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything?
Could you maybe make that a motion? You know, give him a couple weeks, and if after a couple weeks he can't explain, you know, exactly why you need to put a stop to this, then let it proceed.
Well, I will contact the solicitor tomorrow and find out roughly where they're at. I have, as far as what else is going on and how much time they think they're going to need.
Because we got a really good deal with the water company, and I'm afraid if we drag our feet too long on that, we may lose that.
Okay, thank you.
Roger, will you have another meeting then, a special meeting, to let us know if it's going to be a couple of weeks? Or will it be on the website, or how will we do that?
We'll have a regular meeting in another
February 10th.
February 10th. So we should have an answer by that point, and better terminology of what they found. Anybody have anything else? Okay, we have a motion to adjourn.
Also moved.
Second?
A second.
Meeting adjourned.